Most financial advice stops at step 6. Emergency fund, employer match, debt gone, Roth IRA maxed, money invested. You did it. You followed the sequence. And now, nobody tells you what comes next, because most people never get this far. But getting here isn't the finish line. It's the starting line. Here's what you do after the basics are done. Most wealth-building content talks about getting started. Very little talks about what happens when you've started and you want more. More returns, more income, more options. The strategies that got you to this point won't take you further. That's not a flaw in the system. That's how wealth works. Each level requires a different set of tools. There are 5 moves, in order. The same way the paycheck sequence had a logic, this does too. Move 1. Optimize what you're already investing in. The first mistake people make after building their portfolio is ignoring what's inside it. Not all investments perform the same. And more importantly, not all investments cost the same. Expense ratios. That's the annual fee a fund charges to manage your money. The average actively managed fund charges around 1% per year. A broad index fund like VTI or VOO charges around 0.03%. On a $50,000 portfolio, that difference costs you roughly $500 per year in fees alone. Over 30 years, at average market returns, that gap compounds into tens of thousands of dollars. Step 1 isn't adding more money. It's making sure what you already have isn't quietly leaking. Review your holdings. Cut high-cost funds. Replace with low-cost index alternatives. Same market, better outcome. Move 2. Add asset allocation strategy. Once your fees are clean, the next move is intentional allocation. Most beginners put everything in one fund and call it done. That's not a strategy. That's a default. A real allocation considers 3 things: your timeline, your risk tolerance, and your goals. If retirement is 30 years away, you can hold a higher percentage in equities, 80% stocks, 20% bonds, or 90-10 if you have the stomach for volatility. If you're 10 years out, you start shifting towards stability, 60-40, 50-50. The closer you are to needing the money, the less you can afford to lose it. This isn't complicated, but most people never consciously decide it. They let their portfolio drift and end up with far more risk than they intended. Decide your allocation. Write it down. Rebalance once a year. Move 3. Build a second income stream. Everything so far has been about optimizing what your job already pays you. Move 3 is different. It's about building income that doesn't require your time. Most people have one income stream, their paycheck. If that disappears, everything stops. The wealthy don't live that way. The average millionaire has 7 income streams. Not because they're exceptional, because they understood early that one source of income is a single point of failure. A second income stream doesn't have to be dramatic. Dividend-paying stocks, a rental property, a digital product, a side business. The specific vehicle matters less than the principle. Your goal is to have money coming in from somewhere other than your employer. Start with one stream that functions independently of your primary job. That's the move. Move 4. Understand tax strategy at this level. At the beginner stage, the tax strategy is simple. Use your Roth IRA. At this level, tax strategy becomes more nuanced and more powerful. Tax loss harvesting. This is the practice of selling investments that are temporarily down, realizing the loss on paper, and immediately reinvesting in a similar asset. That paper loss offsets gains elsewhere in your portfolio, which reduces your tax bill. You're not losing money. You're capturing a tax benefit the government has built into the system. Most people don't know this exists. Wealthy investors use it every year, automatically. If your brokerage account is large enough, many platforms, including Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab, offer automated tax loss harvesting tools. This is not a loophole. It is a legal, documented strategy used by every sophisticated investor, and it's available to you right now. Move 5. Set a real wealth target and work backwards. Most people save without a number. They just accumulate, hoping it's enough. That's not a plan. That's optimism. Real wealth building starts with a specific target, a number, a date, and a monthly contribution required to hit it. Here's how that works. The 4% rule, a widely accepted framework in financial planning. It states that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually, indefinitely, without running out of money, which means your wealth target is 25 times your annual expenses. If you need $60,000 per year to live, your target is $1.5 million. That number feels large until you run the math. $1,500 invested per month at a 10% average return reaches $1.5 million in roughly 25 years. Most people never calculate this. They just hope they'll have enough someday. Define enough. Calculate what it takes. Reverse engineer the monthly contribution. Now you're not saving. You're executing a plan. 5 moves. Let's recap where you are. You've already completed the 6-step paycheck sequence. Now you're optimizing what's inside your portfolio. Building intentional allocation. Creating a second income stream. Using tax strategy to keep more of what you earn. And working toward a real number, not a vague idea. That's the difference between someone who saves and someone who builds. The people who reach financial independence don't get there by accident. They get there because they moved through levels, not because they found a shortcut. The basics aren't boring. They're the foundation. But at some point, the foundation is built, and what you do next determines how far you actually go. You now know the next 5 moves. Most people never make it to where you already are. Don't stop now. Remember that.